Another month of COVID-19 means another round of bills piling up for families living in financial uncertainty.
Being hard paying rent and everything. And they put a notice on my door.
As the governor greenlights some businesses to open back up, many unemployed workers are still waiting for their checks.
I've been calling for 3 weeks now, sometimes in excess of 300 times a day.
We're going to break down the federal lifelines available, the new rules and regulations, and advice from local experts in a special 1 hour of Sullivan Smart Sense with me, Heather Sullivan. Texans have been on a statewide stay-home order for the past month. Yesterday, the first of many restrictions. It is phase one of Governor Abbott's reopening plan. Retail stores, restaurants, movie theaters, malls, museums, and libraries are allowed to reopen, but they're limited to 25% capacity. Meanwhile, Washington refilled the Small Business Relief Fund, allowing more owners to apply for money to keep their employees on the payroll. The rollout hit a technical snag within the first few hours on Monday, and the Texas Supreme Court has extended its temporary hold on eviction proceedings through May 18th. But some families have already received notices to vacate from their landlords, and many fear what happens now if they still can't pay the rent.
It's causing a lot of mental stress and anguish. It's causing me to not be able to sleep at night.
Sleepless nights for Millhouse and Kayan Dixon.
Not getting any rest, and we pay good money for these apartments to live in, you know.
Like so many whose jobs have been cut, they say they can't pay the rent this month and got this notice from their landlord to vacate. It's the same reality for 22-year-old Taylor Sires, suddenly out of work.
I just filed for unemployment, but I haven't got an exception for it yet. So I don't have the money to do or to pay for everything that I have.
Lone Star Legal Aid lawyer Nick Whitaker says a landlord's notice to vacate is legal, even though the Supreme Court halted eviction hearings now through May 18th.
So a landlord may still issue a notice to vacate, and they may actually still file a lawsuit with the court, but that lawsuit will not be processed or given a court date.
A tenant can either move out or go to court when the moratorium is lifted. But Whitaker recommends that a tenant try to reach a payment plan agreement in writing with the landlord.
Because while they can't go to court right now, they can go to court about your late April rent whenever the moratorium is lifted.
The Houston Apartment Association explains landlords still need to collect rent to keep apartments running.
We have our mortgage and our insurance and our taxes and our payroll to pay.
They recommend renters notify landlords right away if they can't pay.
Bring documentation reflecting what your issue is, whether it's job loss, reduced hours, furlough. Bring those documentation in so we can have the conversation to be able to come up with a plan together.
Catholic Charities says they're helping callers with some rental assistance. But with more calls than funds, they have to prioritize the biggest need.
We prioritize right now certainly senior citizens, secondly single parents, and then also families with children under the age of 5.
The United Way of Greater Houston says rental assistance is the top need from the more than 7,600 calls they've received in March. People just like Sires needing help to make rent.
I've always been a hard worker, and for this to happen, it really sucks because I don't know what I'm going to do.
Mel and Kayan say they now hope their landlord will accept a payment plan so they can stay in their home.
My biggest fear was possibly a big lock being put on the door or being thrown out, and we just didn't know what to do.
The eviction moratorium for families with federally backed rent or mortgages is until July 25th, and we've put more resources for you on fox26houston.com. The IRS just updated its Get My Payment tool to help those unable to check on the status of their stimulus checks. After the website launched April 15th, many couldn't access or input their information to get their checks, but now you'll need to input your Social Security number, date of birth, and the mailing address on your last return, as well as your bank account information and some information from your last return. And once you get your stimulus check, you may be wondering which bill to pay first: rent, utilities, credit cards. Well, we checked in with some financial coaches to ask them what you should pay first and what can wait. Financial coaches say once you get your stimulus check, set it down. First, collect a clear picture of all your expenses over the next month.
So set it aside, look and see when you need it, where you need it.
Then money coach Kelly Showalter says start with the 4 walls.
Food is first. I mean, we don't know how long this is going to take and how long it's going to last. And then we've got to have a place to live. So we think about our home. We've got to pay our utilities. And we got to have a car to get to work.
But before you send money off, contact your landlord or mortgage lender. Sherry Young with Coalition Credit says if they'll give you a deferral, you may want to take it and pay other critical pressing needs.
Your mortgage company, if they're willing to take a pause, do a forbearance, contact them.
Next, keep your insurance current. You don't want it canceled and then have an emergency.
Pay that insurance if you need to be your property, your health, take care of your family.
And finally, see if your credit card, student loan, or other lenders will let you defer payments without penalties. If so, you may want to put any money left over in your emergency fund.
We look and see where we are with our current income level, and then we make the best possible choices on what to do with that money when it shows up.
As we just mentioned, many mortgage companies are allowing homeowners to skip some payments during this economic crisis, but some forbearance plans mean you will pay more later.
It's really important that people, when they approach their lender, understand what they're getting into.
Viewers have emailed us concerned their lenders say they'll let them skip 3 months payments, but have to pay it all in a balloon payment at the end of the 3 months. A big worry if you can't pay that bill.
It's okay to push back. It's okay to say, is there anything else that we can do? Because there's a good chance that there are other options out there.
Matt Schultz with Lending Tree points out there are other forbearance options, such as reduced payments.
There are other options. There are options where instead of having a balloon payment at the end, you simply spread the payments, the missed payments out over a certain amount of time, adding them on top of your regular monthly payment.
Or a plan that lets you skip payments and add them to the end of the loan. Just remember, interest will still accrue, and you may need to work out property tax and homeowners insurance payments. Another option is to refinance the loan, or if you're already behind on payments, you can apply for a loan modification. But whatever your decision, get the agreement in writing. Don't just stop making payments.
Banks are willing to work with people during these really unusual times, but you also need to understand that you need to be proactive and go ask for that help. They're not going to come to you begging you to take it.
If your mortgage is through the Federal Housing Administration, Veterans Affairs, or the Department of Agriculture, the CARES Act gives you 180 days forbearance plus a 180-day extension. You will not be charged any late fees, and late payments will not be reported to your credit. A record 1.5 million Texans have filed for unemployment during the COVID-19 crisis, and the Texas Workforce Commission has struggled to keep up. The state has paid out about $1.8 billion so far, but that only covers half of the people out of work. If you need to apply, visit the Texas Workforce Commission online. They warn that if you go through any third party, you will not be paid. And they have information on the site to help you resolve any issues as well, and links to current job openings. This week, Washington threw another lifeline to businesses that are struggling to stay afloat. Congress replenished the relief program with more than $300 billion. The Small Business Administration reopened the application process Monday morning. The program is aimed at businesses with fewer than 500 workers, and it does not have to be repaid if the money is used to keep workers on the payroll for 8 weeks. Local leaders had only passed a much smaller relief package of just $10 million. Commissioner Adrian Garcia says it's inevitable that some owners will never reopen.
It hurts my heart to think that businesses will close who have been functioning all so long without any problems. Even during hurricanes, they have been resilient. But this pandemic may have proven too much for them.
For businesses looking for more aid, the City of Houston has put together a list of resources on their website. It includes information on a crowd-funded loan opportunity, a Facebook grant program, and assistance for bartenders out of work. And you can learn more by going to houstontx.gov.
We will open in a way that uses safe standards.
Still to come, a new timeline from the governor on who can reopen and the restrictions that are still in place. But first, a warning for those looking for help, how to avoid falling prey to scams during the outbreak. And ahead at 5:45, ways to chop down your energy bills to help you and your family save money in these uncertain times. We'll be back in just 60 seconds. If you're waiting for your stimulus check in the mail, some are finding fakes. Yeah, here's how the Treasury Department says you can tell the difference. First, there's a new Treasury seal that will only say Bureau of Fiscal Service. And when you apply a little water to it, the ink bleeds red. There's also a watermark on the front and back saying U.S. Treasury. And with a black light, if you have one, you can see the ultraviolet overprinting pattern. Plus, there is micro printing on the back saying USA repeatedly. And finally, the check will say Economic Impact Payment, President Donald J. Trump. Now, other scammers are trying to steal your stimulus checks or your unemployment benefits. Maybe they have already. In fact, the Identity Theft Resource Center says they're seeing a spike in all kinds of COVID-19 related scams.
These are people that they need these dollars to pay their rent, to buy food, to keep the lights on.
Eva Velasquez with the Identity Theft Resource Center says they are seeing an increase in scammers stealing stimulus checks, tax refunds, and unemployment benefits by filing for them with information they stole from victims.
They either went to try and go file their taxes, or they were expecting their stimulus check, and they find out that not only have they had that fraudulent tax return filed in their name, but the thief is now also absconded with their stimulus payment.
The center says make sure you don't respond to emails, texts, or phone calls that say they're from financial institutions like the IRS, Social Security, or your bank. Only reach out to them through an official phone number or website.
Contact your bank in the normal way that you would, whether it's calling the number on the back of your card, or maybe you have an app or you engage in online banking.
Velasquez says because people are working from home, many computers are vulnerable to malware and viruses that can steal your information. Make sure you're using antivirus and security software.
It simply is things like just not oversharing, making sure that you're protecting the systems that you use. This is really critical for a lot of the folks who are working remotely right now. Have you done the updates and the patching on your device?
The center says they're also seeing more work-at-home scams and fake COVID-19 tests and treatments.
They are capitalizing on our fear of our health and the pandemic. So there's a lot of phony cure sites, a lot of phony testing sites, just a lot of misinformation.
Up next, as the state prepares for phase 1 of reopening, there's a new campaign to help small businesses in need. And then, new emergency benefits for families unable to put food on the table. We'll explain how you can sign up.
There's a reason that all businesses in Texas cannot open all at once. We've already seen precautionary tales of what can happen when things reopen. There have been reports that China is now having new outbreaks. Singapore is having a second wave that's bigger than its first wave.
Phase 1 started just yesterday. All retail, restaurants, movie theaters, malls, museums, and libraries now able to be open, operating under a maximum 25% capacity. All interactive hands-on exhibits will remain closed, though, and all licensed healthcare professionals can return to work. Some businesses inside malls were already operating, offering curbside pickup options. And despite this, most of the parking lots were still bare, but shoppers were seen trickling back. They can either go online or call the store directly to place an order. They stay in the car while employees bring out their purchases and put it right into their trunks. But not everyone is participating in this new to-go option.
There's only a handful of retailers currently open, and the rest are waiting on corporate decisions.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, we need to get back to work, not just Houston, I mean, globally.
I probably will experience them all, but do so with great trepidation.
Now it's important to remember that while retail stores and malls are permitted to reopen, the food court dining areas, play areas, and interactive displays must remain closed. Now, unfortunately, the governor says it is not safe yet for restaurants, bars, hair salons, and nail salons to reopen. He hopes to be able to reopen them by mid-May. But in the meantime, for entrepreneurs in need, there is a new campaign to help them get some extra attention. Fox 26 business reporter Tom Ziska has more on that story.
Heather, the campaign is called Houston Rallies. The idea behind it, as has happened in the community so many times before, is to come together to lift those in need. And the people behind this project are bringing their know-how to the effort.
Probably lost 75% of our business overnight.
Grant Pinkerton has a story a lot of businesses will recognize as the coronavirus changed everything about keeping the doors open. Like other restaurants, Pinkerton's Barbecue on Airline has had to rely on carry-out orders while the traditional sit-down atmosphere sits empty, waiting for the day that customers can finally come back inside.
Once things open up, people are going to go back for that.
Houston ad executive Thomas Guerrero says he and colleagues at his agency, the League Group, have been brainstorming on what they might be able to do to help.
We wanted to do what we could do best, was give back to the small businesses in this community.
Houston Rallies premiered with a full-page ad in the Houston Chronicle as a rallying cry for the city's small businesses and those who depend on them for their livelihoods. A website, HoustonRallies.com, offers guidance for assistance and tells the stories of those who are hard at work.
This is Houston.
And perhaps most important for cash-strapped businesses that are highlighted is a full advertising push that they might not otherwise be able to afford.
We're giving them 100% creative from our ad agency. That's digital media, that's social media, and that's PR.
It is a welcome lifeline for folks like Grant Pinkerton, grateful for the chance just to get noticed.
There's a lot of messages hitting the consumer right now, and it's really nice to have people taking time to get to know different business owners, seeing what they've done, maybe something unique, maybe something special, and broadcasting that and projecting that to the world so they can see.
Houston Rallies will continue for the foreseeable future, and businesses interested in having their story told as part of this can express that interest on the Houston Rallies website.
Housing counselors tell us that more senior citizens are asking them about the possibility of taking out reverse mortgages to help them through this financial crisis. While reverse mortgages can offer a senior a shot of cash, it can also lead to some serious issues down the line.
Before I knew it, they were basically sending me a letter saying that they were about to foreclose on the property.
Right after her father's death, Edith Reedy says her family had to find a way to buy her father's home back from his reverse mortgage. Housing counselors tell us more seniors are inquiring about reverse mortgages.
They're to the age where they're drawing down their interest on their investments. And they're worried that this money is going to stop.
While reverse mortgages can offer seniors a lifeline, consumer advocates point out they come with origination fees, closing costs, mortgage insurance premiums, interest. Plus, you have to keep up homeowners insurance and property taxes while your home equity diminishes, sometimes to zero.
By the time you pass on, or if you want to sell your property in the future, you may not have the proceeds to move on with or to leave for your heirs or your estate.
I had just lost my father, and then I lost my mother in 2018. So, it was just like bam, 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 bam. And in the midst of it all, trying to deal with this too. So it was very stressful.
Coming up after the break, classes may have moved online for colleges, but that doesn't mean that students are off the hook when it comes to housing. Our legal analyst explains why. As Americans are checking their bank accounts and mailboxes for stimulus checks, there is one group that will not be getting a stimulus bump: traditional college students. They are ineligible for the $1,200 check even if they work. And that's because students under 24 can be claimed as a dependent on someone else's tax return. And even if they are, their parents won't get that extra $500 like they usually would for children under 17. There are exceptions for students who are older than 24, those who are married, or those who provide more than half of their finances. And another unexpected hiccup for some college students and their families is housing. Now that most campuses are going online, some students no longer need their privately owned student apartments, but landlords say they still owe the rent.
What happened was the university said you're not going to class. That doesn't mean you can't live in the apartment. They need to look at that contract and see what it says. And what it says is you agreed to pay that rent until X date. And this doesn't let them out of it just because the university canceled classes early.
Tritico says people can challenge a lease through what's called a force majeure, but he says it's an uphill battle. There is a bright side for graduates. The government is offering federal student loan borrowers an automatic 3 months forbearance. It's waiving interest on those loans, and it is stopping collection activities. Coming up next, what happens if you're self-employed and facing joblessness? I'll show you the options available and how to get them. And one of Texas's biggest industries is seeing historic drops in the stock market. Why experts are telling energy employees and investors now is not the time to panic.
You during the coronavirus crisis. This is a Fox 26 News special, Heather Sullivan's Smart Sense.
Many self-employed people have been struggling through the shutdown. The federal stimulus bill qualified them for unemployment benefits, but many say they applied and were still denied.
And it said you didn't make enough money to be able to file an unemployment claim. Well, that's because I'm self-employed and the income doesn't come forward.
I actually applied and I was denied the monies after being told that this is a time that they would approve all of us as stylists to get funds.
The Texas Workforce Commission sent us a statement explaining when self-employed workers apply, they apply for both regular unemployment insurance, which will reject them, and pandemic unemployment assistance, which covers them. They write, quote, they will generally get a notice saying they've been rejected. They can ignore this. They will subsequently be approved through the PUC program. It is automatic and they don't need to call us back. If we need more information, we will contact them.
When you're asked why you are not working, select reduced hours as their separation reason. If reduction is a result of COVID-19, mark COVID-19 as a disaster impacted section.
We asked if small business owners can collect both unemployment and SBA assistance. Guidance from the Payroll Protection Program loans says participation in the PPP may affect your eligibility for administered unemployment compensation. TWC says that answer is on a case-by-case basis, so applicants should ask both agencies about their eligibility.
And at this point, neither one has came through, so yeah, either one would be fine just to help with anything.
You can apply for unemployment benefits online at ui.texasworkforce.org, and they are opening their 8th call center this week. They are all operating 7 days a week now, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We're told a lot more calls are getting through. If you're out of a job, there is some good news. There are thousands of current openings right here in the Houston area. There are more than 4,000 construction jobs. CVS and Aetna are looking for 700 new employees, including immediate openings in Conroe. Walmart, Kroger, H-E-B, and Randall's also have jobs available. Delivery services are in need of more drivers. Grubhub, DoorDash, Postmate, and Uber Eats are all hiring. And there are hundreds of openings in the healthcare industry, too. We have a growing list up on our website, fox26houston.com. Many families are really struggling just to put food on the table. Texas has stepped in to provide an additional $168 million in emergency SNAP food benefits. Here's how you can apply. Health and Human Services declined to be interviewed about the number of applications that they're receiving, but we dug into their data, and the number of disposed applications, those are completed to a decision, went from about 150,000 in February to 183,000 in March. You can see they're already sharply rising. The Texas Health and Human Services Commission received federal approval to increase benefits to the maximum amount for April and May. HHS data shows families received an average of $258 for March. Now, depending on the size of your family, recipients can get up to $194 per person or $646 for a family of 4. It'll be added directly to Lone Star cards by April 15th and May 15th, and the renewal process is being waived. For new applicants, HHS is waiving the interview and work requirements for able-bodied adults to speed up the process. Food assistance through WIC, the Women, Infants, and Children program, is expanding the options of foods clients can buy because they're having trouble finding what they need in stores. That includes more options for milk, bread, rice, pasta, and eggs, and they're permanently adding canned fruits and vegetables. WIC is asking people to leave some of those items on shelves for WIC families. They're marked with pink WIC stickers. SNAP and WIC purchases are not eligible for delivery in Texas, though WIC officials say they're considering it. They are updating the My Texas WIC app to help families find the foods they need in local stores. To apply for SNAP benefits, you can go to yourtexasbenefits.com. To apply for WIC benefits, you can go to texaswic.org or call 1-800-942-3678. If you're finding yourself in a financial pinch, some banks are letting car owners and homeowners pause their payments. Bank of America, Capital One, Chase, Citibank, Truist, U.S. Bank, and Wells Fargo are among those offering flexibility. But how long the agreements last and how much will be added to the main loan later are on a case-by-case basis. You will have to contact the lender first, and there are some things you need to make sure to ask about.
Figure out what they're offering, what the penalties will be if there are penalties for skipping.
You want to find out exactly when is that next payment due and what is going to happen to the payments that I'm not making.
Our financial experts say even though there is an offer to skip payments, it's better to stay current if you can.
The headline, you really think it's the end of the world. Refineries have cut back their production, and they're only running at about a 69% utilization rate of the refinery. So they've cut a third, basically, of their production.
A stock market plunge sent shockwaves through the energy sector this month. For the first time ever, oil prices actually went negative. But while that picture looks grim, investment experts say it's not the time to panic. Let's go back to Tom Ziska now for a look at where prices may be heading. Tom?
When prices for the benchmark West Texas Intermediate crude closed at nearly $38 below zero, they had fallen more than 300% on the day. That stunning number shows the strain the COVID-19 virus has put on the economy.
To close negative really shows you the state of this market.
The numbers were enough to shock even the professionals of the energy market as crude oil prices plunged through the day.
You can't stimulate demand when nobody's on the road.
Houston energy analyst James Bevan thinks the falling prices are understandable. As the COVID-19 pandemic has shut down much of the globe, demand for oil has plummeted, leaving an overwhelming surplus of crude with an ever-dwindling amount of space to store it. From the vast tank farms in Oklahoma to facilities along the Houston Ship Channel, there are concerns that space will run out.
So traders are worried that over the next 5 weeks or so, if we keep filling at the rate that we filled last week, we're going to have no more storage left. And therefore, people are going to be forced to shut in production, and there's nowhere for it to go.
The ripple effects of a production shutdown would be felt throughout Houston and Texas. If refineries had to slow, the pipelines leading to the vast fields of oil rigs in West Texas would be squeezed as well. And all along the way, businesses that contribute or depend on the energy sector would also feel the pinch. It certainly sounds bad, but analyst Bevan thinks the price plunge should be short-lived as a timing issue for oil traders looking for financial shelter, while the city's major energy companies can plan for a bigger picture that just might be more stable.
This doesn't really fundamentally change what they were already planning to do over the past month or two. Everyone is expecting April to be a pretty bad month. Everyone's budgeting for $20 to $30 a barrel crude oil. So this one-day event isn't exactly going to change operating plans of anybody.
Those operating plans have already been slashed by tens of billions of dollars, and thousands have already been laid off or furloughed as a result. So stable here is a relative term, and until the pandemic is under control and demand ultimately picks up, this uneasy dynamic is likely to continue.
Up next, how industries are thinking outside the box to keep themselves up and running. And still ahead, staying home all the time may be racking up your utility bills. We're going to show you how to ease the strain on your monthly payments by cutting down on your usage. As more people are staying in and businesses were forced to close, many neighborhoods are looking empty, and Houston's southeast side is no different. The Melodrama Boutique has been locked up tight since the stay-at-home orders were put in place, but that's not keeping the store from making money. After 17 years in business, its owner is just having to rethink her strategy. She's advertising her clothes on Facebook, and her clients are getting their fashion finds in the mail instead of in person.
Well, initially there was a lot of anxiety. Anxiety level is not going to help, especially during the times that I still want my business to be open. So I have to use that anxiety and turn that into a work level of really focusing on the business and what can I do from my home.
The City of Houston has a list of other alternative revenue solutions for area businesses. Their website includes groups that help with online ordering and delivery services, plus a way to get that option on your website for free. For restaurants, there's also a guide on how to set up dining bonds for future purchases. All of that information is on HoustonTX.gov. Among the industries looking for new ways to operate are Texas's wineries. And Fox's multimedia reporter Hunter Davis shows us how one is looking to minimize the economic fallout.
It's been devastating.
Becker Vineyards is one of more than 300 across the state of Texas, all of which have closed tasting rooms since the middle of March due to the coronavirus pandemic.
We lost more than half of our income on the day we closed our tasting rooms.
With more than 10,000 wineries across the country, a financial loss of billions may hit the industry.
There's some new data out today that the impact of this pandemic is tremendous for wineries around the world. And across the U.S., we're anticipating an economic impact of somewhere around $6 billion. So wine is a big business in the United States.
Generating more than $70 billion in 2018, the once thriving industry now looking for ways to stay afloat.
Welcoming you guys to our 9th virtual tasting.
A strategy stretching from state to state.
We would ship you 3 bottles for that week, and then you would have them, and then in your sequestered living room, you could open them and taste them with us.
From Texas to Virginia.
The virtual tastings have been really successful. They're just starting to take off. It didn't take much because people are home. They're bored. They're looking for something to do.
The activity also generating revenue wineries hope will make up for so much loss and help them fight the unseen battles of the industry.
Everything that we need for production is impacted by transportation. A lot of the wine bottles have been difficult to obtain, so we could continue producing, trying to stay up with the demand that we have. So the whole system is stressed.
As for how long that stress can last before it's too much, owners say as long as it needs to.
We think we're going to be able to do it for the near future. So everybody's working hard, and it's fun to make it work.
Winery owners also say they're focused on keeping all of their employees. The National Association of American Wineries adds more than 4,000 people were laid off nationwide in March alone. In Austin, Hunter Davis, Fox News.
Coming up next, of course, you're finding that you're driving less during the pandemic. We're going to show you some ways to lower your insurance bill while your car is staying put. Oh, hi, you caught me in the kitchen. I'm actually doing one of the things that can help you cut your electricity bill. Cook once a day, or maybe even for multiple days. You'll cut down on the amount that you're using your stove and your oven. Now, since the stay-home order began, Bulb, an energy provider, says that at-home weekday use is up about 8%, But there's actually one time of day that it's way down.
Usage from 7 to 8 a.m., which is typically one of the highest periods of the day, is actually down 30%, and this is month over month. And what this tells us is that folks are either starting their day a little bit later.
Besides cooking several meals at once, Bulb recommends letting foods cool before putting them in the fridge. Wash your clothes in cold water.
So about 90% of the energy used when you wash your clothes is on heating up the water. So we're recommending people go ahead and wash their clothes on cold water.
And let them air dry. Your biggest cost comes from air conditioning. Close those curtains and blinds and set your thermostat 2 degrees higher.
If you have a smart thermostat, to be able to control some of the temperature that way.
You can also shop around for a lower rate plan.
Wholesale energy prices have come down about 10% since the start of the year. So if people do take a look at what are other plans out there, they may be able to save some money that way.
And if you can't pay your bill, the Public Utilities Commission says retail electric customers getting unemployment benefits can register for the COVID-19 Electricity Relief Program. Then tell your electricity provider you're in it. That should halt any disconnections until July 17th. To register for the COVID-19 Energy Relief Program, call 866-454-8387 or go to txcovid19erp.org. Electric co-ops are not under the Public Utility Commission, but they urge you to call them if you can't pay your bill. Now, here's another great way to help save you some money. You've probably left your car parked a lot more while you've not been going into work. And the good news is I did some digging, and insurance companies say they are ready to cut you a break. Pick up your phone and call your insurance agent. If you can't make payments, many insurance companies say they'll work with you on payment plans, and they're dropping late fees. Camille Garcia with the Insurance Council of Texas says you can also ask about reducing your coverage. Just don't go below what your auto loan requires or the state minimums.
Well, here in Texas, you have a state legal liability limit. So those minimums are $30,000, $60,000, $25,000.
Since you're driving less, ask about a low mileage plan. Some companies offer devices for your car that automatically reduce your rates when you drive fewer miles.
Those of us who might be using telematics, and those are those little devices that some carriers put in your car to measure and monitor your driving habits or your miles driven.
You can also consider removing a driver from a policy or raising your deductibles.
If it's $250 and you know that you can afford $500 or $1,000.
But Garcia warns drivers not to cancel their insurance if you can avoid it. You may still need to drive the car, plus a lapse in insurance can drive up your rates when you renew.
Typically, when you do not have insurance or your insurance has been canceled or there's been a lapse in coverage, that will adversely affect your future rates.
Instead, she says consider suspending or pausing your insurance, but try to maintain comprehensive in case the car is damaged while sitting idle.
If you have hail damage to your car, if your car is flooded, that's where that kind of coverage is going to come from.
They've got to build a comfort level with their customers to get them to come back.
Coming up, a peek into the future. I'll show you changes some industries are making that could forever alter the way we live our lives. The next time you sit down for a meal, there may be a wall of plexiglass between you and the next booth. Restaurants are just one of the industries rethinking the way they'll have to do business to reassure customers that it's safe to come back. Armrests may not be the only barrier between airline passengers soon. An Italian design company has come up with this redesign to help stop the spread of the virus on future flights. These precautions are just one of many things on the minds of businesses as they try to survive the coronavirus slowdown. Let's go back to Tom now because he's talked with one leader who has a path forward.
Joel Peterson is the chairman of JetBlue Airlines. He also teaches business at Stanford University. And as he releases a new book about finding business success, he thinks there are some real lessons for any company that wants to survive the current climate.
People are going to have to think like entrepreneurial leaders.
Joel Peterson thinks business leaders will need to be nimble and imaginative to navigate their way out of the coronavirus slowdown. His new book about entrepreneurial leaders talks about those very qualities that will be vital to even giant organizations, building trust with a great team that delivers results aimed at a specific mission. Front and center for him, an airline industry largely grounded with few willing to fly.
Will you fly again? And how will you fly again?
No, we will fly again, and the market will come back and maybe change some.
Despite the optimism, that last part about change may be important for future travelers. Will they tolerate some kind of health screenings, smaller planes, or some other as yet to be discovered safety regulation? Peterson thinks the answer is yes, because people need to be connected.
People are going to want to travel. They're going to want to see each other. They're going to be with family, friends. And I think in business settings, it's really important to be together.
But first, airlines need to survive to fly another day. Already, the government has pledged $50 billion in loans and grants to bail out the industry. JetBlue set to get almost $1 billion of that. The airline says it is an investment to preserve jobs and critical infrastructure.
So that we're not having to furlough a lot of people who would then qualify for unemployment benefits or whatever. So it costs nearly the same amount of money. And if you actually shut down all the airlines, it would take a long time to bring it back.
That money, though, will only go so far. An industry publication notes recently that JetBlue Airlines was burning through an unsustainable $10 million every single day. It's the kind of story repeated for all kinds of businesses and industry just desperate to get back to doing what they're supposed to do.
Thanks, Tom. And we'll be back with more in just a few minutes. As the world slowly returns to normalcy, the issues that you, the consumer, are facing will not immediately dissipate. Here at Fox 26, we are working to bring you simple solutions to the problems that you're dealing with, whether it's helping you understand unemployment, legal advice through an eviction, or just the latest rules and regulations concerning the COVID-19 pandemic. You can find all this information and more on fox26houston.com. Also, click on the More tab, and you can go to Sullivan's Smart Sense, and you'll also find all this information at your fingertips when you download our Fox 26 mobile app. And if you have a consumer story that you think needs to be shared, please send it my way. You can find my contact information on our website. And for all of us here at Fox 26, we hope that you stay safe and healthy and have a wonderful weekend. And be sure and join us tonight at 9 o'clock for the latest on Fox 26 News.